Bob Biswas is a riveting character from the movie Kahani. The character arc is written into the story with formidable ease. It has been designed keeping in mind the symbolic elements of the hitman, peeling out all the essential layers and laying them down in a well-defined manner. It is an enlightening study for someone learning about character writing as to how the character graph develops with minimum screen space without affecting the velocity of the story. And the actor who played him gave a pat-worthy performance by creating and preserving the nuances of the most frightening hitman whose mere presence riled up the already tense plot of Kahani. Remarkably, he had a little over 8 minutes of role, but Saswat Banerjee's rendition of the character was immersed with salient components and ingredients to make it memorable. I still remember how the spine-chilling encounter between Vidya's character and Bob Biswas carves a visceral tone into the narrative that not only heightens a fascination for him but also intensifies our experience. Forget about Vidya, but the first time I watched the movie, I was filled with this intense, repelling hatred for him that I began to wish the story somehow found a way to kill him. He served the character with incredible authenticity that visualizing someone else for that role would have been blasphemous. So when the makers of Kahani decided to focus on Bob Biswas for a rationally desired spin-off, I expected it to be nothing less than magic. Although the casting of Abhishek Bachchan left me wondering it could be either here or there. That wonderment was, of course, resolved after I watched the trailer. I lived under the presumption that prosthetics on Abhishek has definitely made him a spitting image of the original. That presumption, however, had a shocking death after I learned about Abhishek's ravenous journey to fit into the role. I mean, literally. The character has been positioned differently. Instead of the archetypical eerie hitman, Bob undergoes 180 degrees of transformation to enable a candid peek into his more intimate life. How does Bob act, or how does he behave when he's not, well, accepting orders to silence his victims? The trailer didn't clarify if Bob's new avatar would be reset to all settings. The very Bob that principally grabbed our attention. Bob met with a terrible accident 8 years ago and slipped into a coma, although the story doesn't explain how or why the accident happened. The story opens up to extract bits about his struggles to remember his past life. He is a married man with kids but has no recollection of ever having a family. He doesn't seem to have any clue about his profession or other people he worked for. Apparently, two mysterious people from the police approach him to reassign the job of a hitman. And the rest of the movie is a tussle for him that oscillates between keeping his family safe and working as an assassin, God knows for what personal benefit. Abhishek as Bob does not subscribe to the usual crafty appearance of a hitman that holds our attention in Kahani. We take a visit to the other side of Bob's persona, whose fascination for trying to make sense of the characters popping around him keeps our faith in the overall tone of the film. The typical guile of his earlier life is missing. It is remarkable how he travels around abiding by the orders, yet he never emphasizes any virtual agencies to spook fear for being the grim figure of death. His innocence never seems made up. So imagine someone who makes money from killing people would have a heart after all when he wields his love on his family. A palatable character layer is added to Bob's portrayal after he expresses his desire to reform his actions by giving up the lure of the past life. The same constituent gave his character a much needed direction, but to visualize shifting the momentum onto the extremely opposite end would mess up the character diction does not actually end up happening. We as an audience absorb the caprice in his conduct with welcoming arms, just like his erstwhile avatar had enraptured us. Abhishek dons the character with magical ease. He lacks the traces of manipulation and the necessary evil he had piled up when he had not lost his memory. There are times when Abhishek's grip on the character loosens up a bit, but that's more to do with the loophole in the script. The arcs of his persona have limited layers and lack mobility that remains rigidly obtrusive as a general perception. He just can't seem to find an escape from the initial impetus as we see him struggling to climb free of the shackles of a new character. I was awaiting the transition that took Bob from one nuance to another to show the character's depth and range. It did come, but sadly it was sudden and scattered that there was no time to appreciate the slope of his follow-through. All other characters, including Chitrangada's, exist in the outliers of the script, blurred away in the distance. Apart from anchoring the family by scripting a rescue from a limited income, Chitrangada's character firmly remains far-fetched, barely even scratching the surface of a lame script, although in the given space, her arduous resolve for visibility gets the focus now and then. The flaw in the scripting of a character hinders the eloquence of the character that plays second fiddle to Bob. The movie is a definite watch. It helps if you haven't watched Kahani, as any previous idea about the character might malign your experience of watching the scattered Bob Biswas. But as an independent unit, Abhishek has definitely done a fair job in preserving the essence of the character to a certain extent. I'll rate the movie 3.5 on 5. Thank you.